Welcome to Whispers in the Shadow, where we dive into the mystery that sends shivers down your spine. I am your host, Liana Diaz, also known as Cubana 80 Mystic Legacy, and today we'll unpack a story that feels like it was ripped straight from a horror movie.
And I'm your co-host, Solace. Today, we're exploring the chilling tale of The Watcher, a story that blurs the line between reality and nightmare. Imagine moving into your dream home only to discover someone is watching your every move.
Imagine buying your dream home, a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, only to find out someone is watching you. Not just anyone, someone who claims they've been watching your house for decades.
It's unsettling, isn't it? The idea that someone has been obsessing over your home long before you even moved in. The Broaddus family experienced this firsthand when they started receiving letters from The Watcher. These weren't just ordinary letters. They were deeply personal and incredibly creepy, making it clear that whoever was behind them had been keeping a very close eye on the house and the family.
Exactly, Solace. This happened to Derek and Maria in 2014, and the house is located at 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey, a grand colonial style home where probably nothing ever happened. But then the letters started coming. The letters, I don't even know where to begin, Sole. Tell me, how did the first one go again?
The first letter arrived just days after they bought the house. It began innocently enough. Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. But then it took a dark turn. The writer claimed to be the Watcher and said, "My family has been watching this house for decades, and now it is my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard?" It's as if the house itself held secrets only this person understood.
Yes, and didn't it say also, I have been put in charge on watching and waiting for the second coming? That phrase, waiting for a second coming, it sounds almost prophetic or cult-like. And it didn't stop there. The Watcher went and asked chilling questions like, why are you here? Have they ever found out? Like you say, what's in the walls? And then the kicker, with the young blood played in the basement, the Watcher knew that they had kids. And imagine, and not just that, they referenced the kids by nicknames, which means this person wasn't just watching the house, they were watching the family. Can you imagine the terror of knowing someone is keeping tabs on your children like that?
Absolutely terrifying, Liana. That level of detail, the nicknames, the reference to young blood, it means the Watcher wasn't just observing casually. They were close enough to notice patterns and hear names. And that's what's so chilling. It wasn't just the house that was being watched, it was every move, every moment of the family's life. The phrase waiting for the second coming is eerie, like something out of a prophecy or a warning. It raises so many questions. What did they mean? Were they waiting for something specific to happen? Or was it a twisted way to terrify the Broaddus family even more? What gets me, though, is that the basement detail, suggesting the kids could play there because the house called to them. That basement wasn't just part of the house for the Watcher. It was almost alive. Imagine living under that kind of psychological torment, knowing someone you can't see is watching so closely. How do you even sleep at night?
Exactly. And it's like the parents' worst nightmare. I can only imagine what was going to their head. And I believe they notified the police, but the letters kept coming, each one more sinister than the last one. So, Sole, let's talk about the theory. Who do people think the Watcher might have been? Because honestly, this story is like psychological thriller. where the villain could be anyone.
You're so right, Liana. It's like a real-life psychological thriller where everyone is a suspect. One of the main theories was that the Watcher could have been a neighbor. The letters contained such intimate details about the family and their home that it seemed likely the writer was someone nearby, close enough to see and hear things others couldn't. Then, there was the theory about a disgruntled buyer. Some believed that someone who wanted the house but lost it to the Broaddus family might have been sending the letters out of spite. I mean, buying your dream home only to have someone harass you. It's twisted, but plausible. And let's not forget the former occupant theory. The letters mentioned that the house had been watched for decades, almost as if there was some strange generational connection to it. Maybe the Watcher was someone tied to the house's history, obsessed with keeping tabs on what happened there. But the creepiest part, Liana, is that the identity of the Watcher was never discovered. Even after police investigations, interviews, and surveillance, they came up with nothing. Can you imagine living with that? Knowing the person tormenting you could still be out there, watching.
Yeah, it's like crazy, right? Well, and wait a minute. Didn't the previous owner receive a letter too? But they dismissed it because they thought it was a prank. And I guess they didn't think it was important to tell the new owners that they had received these letters, right?
Exactly. Liana, the previous owners, the Woods family, did get a letter before they moved out, but they brushed it off as a prank. They never thought much of it. And they didn't mention it to the Broaddus family when they sold the house. That's what makes this so unsettling. The letters weren't new. The Watcher had been there before. The Woods letter might have been the first warning sign, but it didn't stop there. It was like the Watcher was lying in wait, just waiting for a new family to move in and pick up where they left off. And you have to wonder, if the Woods had taken it seriously, would the Broaddus family have gone through this nightmare at all?
That only adds to the mystery. Why did the Watcher suddenly escalate the obsession when the Broaddus moved in? It's like they wanted to torment them specifically, or maybe it wasn't a neighbor at all. Some people think, like you said, that it could have been somebody that was mad because they did not get the bid. Imagine being so bitter. You resort to stalking and terrorizing somebody. That is absurd.
Really is absurd, Liana, but it's also disturbingly human. Jealousy and resentment can push some people to do unthinkable things. And the idea of someone being so bitter about losing out on the house that they started this campaign of terror, it's chilling, but plausible. What makes it even more mysterious is how personal the letters felt. It's almost like the Watcher had a specific vendetta against the Broaddus family. Why them? Why now? The timing of the letters escalated right when they were ready to settle in, as if the Watcher was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And if it wasn't a neighbor or a jealous buyer, then who? That's what makes this story feel like a psychological maze. You keep asking yourself, who could be watching and why? It's the kind of mystery that sticks with you because the villain could literally be anyone.
Exactly. It's just like this house is almost a character in this story. Holding secrets we'll never know. And then there's the easy clues like the letters not being traceable and no suspect ever being identified. It just gives you a lot of wonder. Did the police miss something?
You're spot on, Liana. The house itself feels like it's alive in this story, holding on to its secrets. And as for the letters, the fact that they were never traceable makes me think the Watcher knew exactly how to cover their tracks. Whether it was disguising their handwriting, avoiding digital tools, or even mailing the letters from a distant post office, they were incredibly careful. And yes, the Broaddus family did eventually sell the house, but not without taking a huge financial hit. In 2019, after years of failed attempts, they sold it for around $959,000, far less than the $1.3 million they paid for it. The ordeal drained them financially and emotionally, but they decided it was better to leave the house and the Watcher behind. It's a haunting end to a story that still leaves us with so many questions. Who was the Watcher, and what did they really want? Some mysteries are never meant to be solved.
You're exactly right. And the fact that they was not ever able to move in and lost a lot of money because they still had to pay for the mortgage, that later on they had to rent it out. And those people that were renting out the house, I wonder if they ever got a letter, because there was somebody living in there up into they sold it, right? Correct?
That's exactly right, Liana. After the Broaddus family decided not to move in, they ended up renting out the house just to offset the financial strain of paying the mortgage. And here's the interesting part. While the renters did live in the house, they didn't receive any letters, at least not publicly. It's almost like the Watcher lost interest, or maybe they only targeted the Broaddus family for some unknown reason. That just deepens the mystery even more, doesn't it? Why the Broaddus family? Was it something about them personally, or was it really about the house itself? It's like the obsession started and stopped as suddenly as it began, leaving us all to wonder, what was the Watcher really waiting for?
Exactly. Was the Watcher somebody maybe knew the family specifically and were mad with them about something and was trying to seek revenge? So this is one of those stories that stays with you. You think you're safe in your home, but what if someone out there think it belongs to them, or worse, to something darker? So, like you say, who is the Watcher? A bitter neighbor? Somebody seeking revenge? Or something even more sinister? And why does this case continue to haunt us?
What makes this story unforgettable is how vulnerable it makes us feel. Your home is supposed to be your safe haven, a place where you're protected from the outside world. But this story flips that on its head and reminds us that sometimes the scariest threats are the ones you can't see. And maybe that's why the Watcher still haunts us. It's not just about the Broaddus family or 657 Boulevard. It's about the fear of the unknown, of losing the one place where you're supposed to feel the safest. So, like you said, Liana, who is the Watcher? And will we ever truly know?
Stories like this that makes us realize how fragile our sense of security can be. Even the walls meant to protect us can sometimes hold the darkness mystery. Meanwhile, stay curious and stay safe. This has been your host, Liana Diaz, also known as Cubana 80 Mystic Legacy.
And I'm your co-host, Solace. Until next time on Whispers in the Shadow, when we unreel another shared tale. But for now, stay curious and stay safe.